Bonus time! Welcome
Baba Booey.
to the first and kind of only bonus episode of the first
Not
50
only.
DCOMs.
We're going to do another one.
Well, no, it's just the only one about the first 50
The first
movies.
50,
It is
yeah.
the retrospective.
There won't be another one like this.
We're already blasting in, arguing with each other, but I am your host, Lucas Melby.
And I'm Jacob Telejohn.
And this, of course, is a whole new pod. The podcast where so
a
far
pod about a whole new pod.
we have watched
50.
Disney Channel original
51.
movies.
Stop it. Don't you lie to the people. They know we've done this before. That we were doing this after.
They don't know that yet, though. That'll make sense 2 weeks from now.
Yes.
But this episode, because of some recording rescheduling with some family that's coming over to stay at my house, which is where we record, obviously. But the room where we record is an empty bedroom, which will then be occupied. So
Fornicated in and...
it gives us an excuse to kind of take a little break by just putting out this small episode first, and then we'll have Stuck in the Suburbs.
Yeah.
Hopefully regularly scheduled. But we're going to
Yeah.
take this episode 50 movies.
50.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of movies. Yeah.
50 movies. Break that down. If all these movies are roughly around the 90 minutes
When did we
mark,
start?
that means we've
what
watched...
month, year?
We started, I think, October of 2019, I think. No. 2018.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my god.
So 50 movies, if they're about 90 minutes each, that means we've watched about 75 hours of Disney Channel original
together.
movies. Then that means if all of our episodes are maybe around like an hour to an hour and a half, we've probably recorded like 55 to 60 hours
We've spent too much time
of podcasts, which means I've edited all of those too. So I probably
devoted
spent
like a week of life.
I probably spent like over 100 hours editing the
Weeks of
podcast,
life.
with the exception of You Lucky Dog, which I did not edit at all. So
Weeks
looking
of
back on
life.
those, that's how we're spending this episode.
Yeah.
Came up with some prompts that I sent Jacob ahead of time, so he had a little bit of homework to do. So he actually took some notes, which he does not do anymore when we watch these
I have
movies.
about 20 lines. It's the more notes than I've taken for the last 50 movies. So
We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
Starting off with maybe some of the less exciting stuff that we'll cover in this episode, but what we've learned from doing this podcast.
Yeah.
So some of this is maybe a little overly serious and goofy, but this first question is, Jacob, what have you learned from doing this podcast? What have you learned about movies, about yourself, about life?
For the podcast itself, just focusing on like Disney Channel original movies.
Well, that's what we do here.
Like I was saying to you earlier, I don't know if I was ever going to see these movies, again, just like randomly like watch them.
I never would have.
I still enjoy them. Am I still a child at heart? Do I still love Disney Channel original movies? Some of the movies that I didn't like, that I hadn't seen, like when we get to our top 10, they're in.
Jacob doesn't even remember any of the
movies.
movies.
They're in my top 10. Like I actually enjoyed.
To qualify for Jacob's
now.
top 10, he had to have a single memory about them, and that was enough.
But like there are movies that like I'd never seen, but I actually like I enjoyed the movies, and like the movie we watched next week, I enjoyed it. I'm still like a Disney kid at heart, I would say. I guess.
DCOM, ride or die.
Yeah.
So part of this can be a little more technical from my perspective because Jacob does not edit the podcast.
Yeah.
So for me, I've learned audio editing.
Yeah, you can
to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I've learned how to do it a little more efficiently over time. I think I've learned how to make a sound decent, certainly not pro level.
Oh, it's definitely better.
Got a new laptop, and that seemed to make us sound weird last week, so we're back on the old laptop. But that's fine. It, I think, is treating us well.
Yeah.
From doing the podcast, I think I was always decent with public speaking, and I had experience with that. But I think this has helped me be a little more... While I do take a page to a page and a half of notes every single week, and sometimes I'm a little too stringent with like, Jacob, shut up. I'm trying to say this thing now. What? This isn't I'm not the only person on this podcast. But I think I've been able to develop some better flow or segues.
And that's one of the things that I was kind of thinking about too. And I don't know, you would notice it a hell of a lot more than I would, editing. But like, but like, I know that I say like, not necessarily like but I have, like this. Like I have words that like fill, but I don't know if it's gotten better, if it's gotten worse.
I think if you edited the podcast and you actually really had that awareness, you would get better.
Focus more on it.
And with my ability to edit the podcast, that does help with my flow too, where I can tighten stuff up a little bit or make things a little bit clearer. But I have picked up on my verbal tics.
Yeah, and we all have those verbal cues, especially like when we're just doing it. We're not reading, like I'm not reading a script, and you're not always just reading a straight script. You have your notes, but we're still kind of going off the dome, if you will. We're going to have those moments, like where we just pause, where we have to think for like a second.
Yeah, and I can edit those out.
Yeah.
But my big ones are, which I still say sometimes it's acceptable, but some people say it too much, and I'm sometimes like that. Likes also for me. I got a wet mouth, so sometimes I get a little mouth noisy, lip smacky. People don't like to listen to that. I certainly don't like to listen to that. And I think other people do this, and maybe it's something I just pick up on more because of how sensitive our mics are with picking up so much.
Yeah.
Or just that I don't like hearing myself do it. But I
breathe physically.
When I'm trying, deep breaths, those are weird, but I edit a lot of those out. But when I'm struggling to come up with words, I'll kind of do like a, and you can pick up on like, and I won't edit that part out, but it's like a guttural noise of just being like before I say a thing. And some people it's more like audible, but for me it just sounds like
in your head, you're doing it, right?
I don't really necessarily know in my head, but like when you listen to yourself, it's like, yeah.
Pick it up. Yeah.
But Jacob, nice enough to notice, to recognize, but I definitely know all of the stuff that Jacob does when we record that I do not like, and probably the listeners would not like.
No.
And he, creative individual, seems to always find something new. So I didn't actually list all these off, but off the top of my head, Jacob, he breathes through his nose pretty heavily sometimes. You get some nose whistling.
Thank you.
He gets some lip smacking. He has good diction, but the way he enunciates is not always good for audio. You don't like heavy P's or T's.
P's and T's.
Because that's why we have some amount of pop filters on these. But Jacob, he gets through there.
Really?
Jacob sometimes...
Tomato.
Is drinking water. He's got a crinkly water bottle, a crinkly, bag of chip, dropping his phone water bottle on the ground, just on his phone a lot, rubbing his beard.
A scratch.
And of course, the likes, ums.
And then she comes.
What you do instead of you just say the same thing repeatedly.
Until you get it out.
And I can edit around that pretty easily. So I try to make you sound smarter.
Thank you.
Than maybe you are.
That's a part of doing something raw.
We do it raw.
Like people, I don't think like podcasts, like I can tell like when I'm listening to other podcasts of like audio edits and stuff like that too. Unless you're doing a live podcast, I haven't really like watched a lot of live, video podcasts, but I'm sure people do the same thing. It's human nature.
They pay other people to do it. The big time people, either they don't do it and you can tell, or they're like professional enough or
they've gotten better to the
or they're
point.
More entertaining where you can kind of look past some of that stuff, where in my opinion we need all the help we can get. So that's why I do my due diligence and try to go.
And maybe the next 50 will be better. Maybe we'll get better. Maybe we have gotten better.
That's the thing with any podcast is if you come in midstream, and there's very few podcasts I've listened to from the start at day one, or I come in later on and then go back and listen to all the old episodes.
The older ones always sound the worst.
Yeah, sometimes they sound like they're being recorded in somebody's fucking bathtub.
Yeah.
Sometimes, this person was on the podcast earlier and now isn't even on the podcast at all.
Like you can.
So that's a situation where, it's cool. Like we are talking about all 50 movies and episodes here, but if you're new to the podcast, some of the early episodes are maybe okay, but I think we definitely get better
audio-wise, like going back and forth, like contributing to like a certain part of the movie. I think we're closer to the
point where it's harder for YouTube commenters to have conspiracy theories that Jacob is actually just me recording audio twice.
Yeah, that was a trip.
Yes. So that was kind of what I've learned from doing the podcast about just podcasts in general.
Yeah.
For about what I've learned about movies is I think looking at these movies under such a close lens kind of has helped me just understand and appreciate just movies in general and what works or doesn't work in movies. So something we can point out a lot in these is like acting. And sometimes it's kind of shaky.
I feel like it's definitely gotten a lot better, though. I don't feel like there's been major actor or actress in like recent memory that's really like botched their role.
No,
that
not
really stands out.
necessarily.
But we've had those like, oh god, that was just an awful performance. But I don't feel like we've had that. Like, it's definitely gotten better, production wise, cast wise.
And I guess this isn't so much something I've picked up from these movies, but maybe through like an absence or lack of like good cinematography and how a shot is framed can make something a more interesting scene. Yeah. Where these movies, it's like, you know, they look like they're using like the TV style cameras, whether that's digital versus film or whatever. And a lot of the shots, very like functional. It's like, we're getting this done because it's a fucking teeny bopper DCOM. It doesn't really matter. And I think probably because I take copious notes for each episode is I really have an appreciation for like the plotting of these movies, character arcs and growth. And that's something that is often absent in these. And that's probably one of the easier things for us to pick up on, is because at least me, I'm watching this movie in a way that hardly probably anybody out there.
Yeah, you're really dissecting. But what's nice too is when you're taking those deep notes, sometimes you miss some funny things that I catch. It's a good mix.
It's not a great way to watch these movies.
It's a good mixture, because sometimes we're rewinding.
I don't get to actually enjoy the movies.
Lucas, did you see the Ahigo face young little boy just made?
That's when we pick up on stuff like in Cadet Kelly, her friend who gets mad at Cadet Kelly for having other friends or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, if we had that moment of her having dinner with the family, that would be like enough for us to feel like they're the best of friends. And that's something else with these movies, is just like the efficiency. It's like, these are 90 minutes usually at most. So I'm looking at whether this scene is necessary, what it adds,
if they
or what is missing a scene. So that was a scene that could have been missing. Maybe we could have trimmed off some fucking cadet dancing,
some gristle,
whatever shit, to have more characters stuff.
There are some movies where I think that could have gone longer, like next week's movie. I think I think it was a lot and a little.
Yeah, I think the Jenny Project should have been like the Snyder Cut. It should have been 4 hours long.
But I think there are movies that are cut too short, and there are other movies that just really drag, like you just said. Like,
and this is something I've probably just struggled with for a while because I like bad movies. But sometimes watching all of these mediocre movies, I put in so much effort to watch these movies, but sometimes it's like, to bring myself to watch a good movie, it's like, I don't know if I want to watch this good movie. That like, I have to like think about it or pay attention and like appreciate it in a way.
Yeah.
But that also might just be depression, you know?
Yeah. 100%.
That's probably what it is.
Yes.
Then one last kind of just general thing for this, maybe learning about myself or about life. And we brought this up a few different times over the first 50 episodes, is that doing this podcast, it's very easy to be YouTube critic, nitpick about everything, but I think it's worthwhile.
That's just depressing to do that all the time.
It's worthwhile to try to find something enjoyable in each movie.
Absolutely.
It is very hard to get there.
Yeah.
But hating and nitpicking is only going to get you so far, and it's only fun for so long. Like,
yes.
You can definitely see people within audiences of like YouTube commentary channels.
Or just like negative critique all the time. That's just boring.
And it's like the audience has maybe kind of started to drift away from that, where it's like, that's not really that interesting. It's not really
fun.
It's not diving in that deep into the movie about what works, what doesn't work. Like, you're not learning that much.
Straight negative criticism. It's fun to jokingly criticize about movies. I think that's a lot different than being a strict critic, is to like, Mystery Science Theater kind of like joking, with how the movie like that's a funny commentary.
That's an interesting case, because now that they've spun into doing riff tracks, they do riff tracks of the Lord of the Rings. And
really?
Like, then you get into a situation of, are they just kind of making jokes about what's happening in the movies, or are they like trying to do like that nitpicky commentary? And it's like, no, this is an amazing movie.
Yeah.
What we're really saying is, we think too much about these Disney Channel movies. We're too serious about them. We try to find the good.
Yes.
But sometimes that can be a little hard.
It can be hard.
As we'll maybe get into with some of our least favorite movies.
Yeah. You'll hear. Like, I don't even know. I don't even remember watching them.
So our next prompt, kind of breaking down what we see as major tropes or themes in these movies, a little segment I would like to call you might be watching a DCOM if you might be a redneck.
Oh, good old.
So before we did this, I crunched a few numbers to kind of break it down into what I saw as some of the overarching types of DCOMs. And movies can fit into multiple categories. So this won't add up to 50 exactly. So for instance, I have sports and sci-fi/fantasy, which that maybe is too much in that one group. Luck of the Irish, that is a sports movie and a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
So my categories are sports, sci-fi fantasy, animal, horror, which is maybe a little generous because there's really only one DCOM that is really that scary.
Yes.
But there's others that are
Halloween theme.
at it.
Halloween theme.
And then other/special, where I kind of bring in
Christmas or
Christmas movies, or like the Cheetah Girls doesn't quite fit into any of those other categories. Gotcha. Or something like Color of Friendship or True Confessions, where like this is a more serious
fantasy has to be number one.
So yes, sports, 16 out of the 50 movies I consider to fall within the sports category.
Wow.
Which I feel like, I don't know, I feel like all of them are sports movies, but maybe we are in more of like the sports zone. Sci-fi/fantasy, again, that can be kind of broad.
35 plus. 40.
I think I even included like You Wish as a sci-fi, or like that's a fantasy movie. 25.
Oh, that's it.
So like 50% can be labeled as fantastical.
Gotcha.
And I don't remember if I put like Full Court Miracle in sci-fi and fantasy.
What about like Smart House?
That is definitely there.
Yeah.
Animal, 7.
Okay.
Not a lot of animal movies. No. Most, I think, are dogs.
Like, did you have like Horse Sense in there?
Horse Sense is an animal movie. Ring of Endless Light,
Dolphins.
Animal movie.
Yeah.
You Lucky Dog.
Yeah.
Jenny Project.
Yeah.
Animal.
Yeah.
Horror.
5.
8.
Okay.
But again, I'm putting like the Scream team in there.
Yeah.
And then other/special, I put at 10.
Gotcha.
So
that all adds
sci-fi
up
fantasy doesn't necessarily feel like it, but I mean, we got 3 Xenon movies. We're close to getting 3 Halloween Town movies. There's a way that those can kind of build up.
You're gonna love my top 10.
God. So now into the things of, you might be watching a DCOM if
you're somebody born in the 90s. If you were born in the 90s, you're probably maybe still watching DCOM for nostalgic reasons. If you are an adult of a child, you're probably watching DCOM.
If you're the adult of a child?
if you're the parent of a child.
If you're Benjamin Button? What? So one of my things...
If you just listen to our podcast, maybe you're going to watch a DCOM.
So I think one of the things we definitely picked up on a lot in this is if there's a forced romance, that there's a romance in it that is like, oh, they weren't really romantic, and oh, they're kissing at the end of the movie. You might be watching a DCOM if that happened.
Gotcha.
If your main character is like, I hate adults, parents suck. But all of the actions of the child is actually like, no, I think this kid sucks a lot. You might be watching a DCOM. If you're getting some freeze frames, some bad quality slow-mo, some bad CG.
Characters narrating their own life.
Yeah. I don't know if I put that one in there, but narration.
Yeah.
Just other weird effects like speed up effects.
The boom mics and
You're probably watching a DCOM. If the ending credits of the movie is a song that is the title of the movie, you're watching a DCOM. That's unequivocal. That doesn't happen other places. If there is some kind of arbitrary ticking clock, like, oh no, Xenon Z3, the moon is passing over the horizon. Oh, somehow we can only leave Halloween Town during this time frame, but Halloween Town's time is longer or shorter here. But then, blah, blah, that kind of stuff. Cody, he's turning into
Mom's got a date with a vampire.
He's turning into a mermaid. So it's like, you might be watching a DCOM, but also that's just basic plot structure is like, you got a ticking clock, it adds tension. So you know what, DCOMs, we give you crap for some of that stuff, but it's more like the Halloween Town ones. That rule doesn't make any fucking sense. And of course, I think this is maybe one we've hit home more, but if there's a big game in your movie, you're probably watching a DCOM. That's probably
50 of the movies we've watched. There's always a big game moment.
There's always a big something.
Yeah.
Big cook-off, big game.
Yeah.
Any others you want to pull out that you've picked up on?
Like single parents. There's a lot of single parent
and
movies.
if there is no explanation or a tragic explanation for why they're a single parent.
A lot of single parents.
If there's quintuplets in the movie.
Yeah.
It's quints and it's a DCOM.
But it always seems to be just focuses on the audience side of it, but it's kids overcoming obstacles. Like every movie's like child overcoming an obstacle, like whether they're bettering themselves, whether they're helping other people. It's always good. It's always good, like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, there's always very regularly there's a lesson to be learned at the end.
Yeah.
Even if often if it does not feel earned or really derived from what we have just watched as a movie.
Yeah.
Like, what is the message of the movie we watched in the future from this?
Yeah.
I guess
it's friends.
Friendship?
Yeah, that's what I got down here too. It can be their friends or it can be family working together to overcome these obstacles to find their end goal or whatever. But yeah, it's always positive. It's always good. I think something that started to happen more in recent DCOMs, maybe not as much in the first ones. I can't remember how it first started off, but I think they started to add more like ethnicity into the movies. That's not like you might be watching an if, but like that's just something I kind of noticed. I don't remember if a lot of like the early ones, kind of had a lot of Brenda songs, or if they had a lot of Kyle Massey's.
They just had Mummies and Lucky Dog.
Like those first ones are just like You Lucky Dog doesn't even seem like a DCOM.
That actually is something I wanted to hit home more of.
DCOMs that don't even feel like DCOMs. That's another category you got to go back.
I think You Lucky Dog may be the only movie where the main character is not a child. I mean, maybe some of these older ones, we get to maybe probably not, though. Because they had, before Disney Channel original movies, they had Disney Channel premiere films.
So this might have been more.
So that might have been an old script, and it's like, they really miscalculated. Because I guess kids might like that, but here's an adult Kirk Cameron who's inherited this mansion, and he fucking is a dog sometimes.
Yes.
Even the Jenny Project, like the dad is an important character in that movie.
Yes.
But it is still about the fucking
monkey and kid relationship.
Yeah, it's about the
monkey.
Jenny.
It's about Jenny.
With the Jenny Project being brought up.
Yes.
Now we'll get into everybody loves lists. We love lists.
We like lists.
So I think we'll start with our least favorite.
Okay.
And then end with the more positive note. Mine aren't necessarily in like this is my number one hated. They're just kind of these are like the ones that didn't really like stand out to me as much. So we'll ping pong back and forth. Of course, I have mine very structured because I've kept a running list on my Letterboxd
account. So we'll start at 5.
Fat_tomato.
Check it out.
So this is my number 46 out of 50.
Okay,
so 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. So at 46, my most favorite, least favorite DCOM is Stepsister from Planet Weird.
Wow.
Probably the worst special effects in any DCOM.
Wow.
Just fucking, the beginning of this movie is just cacophonous. It's just bombardment of stuff happening constantly. The first half hour of the movie is all technically like a flashback of stuff that's happened.
It's great.
I hate it.
I love it.
Which is ironic because I know there are other DCOM podcasts out there, and the namesake of their podcast is this movie, but
really?
I hate it.
Well,
Cosmicola eats hot dogs weird. Devin Bossert said so. All right, so what is one of your least favorite movies?
One of my least favorites, one we just watched, Going to the Mat. I don't hate the movie.
You just hate... I mean... Yeah, I can get that one,
but it's just kind of a bland movie. Like it's awesome. He's blind. He can wrestle. Like I'm not hating on that,
but he's a jerk.
It's just but it's not really a movie that I would never like watch it again just to watch it. It's not magical like you were saying. Like the fantastical, the magical. Those are my kind of favorite movies. And some of the sports ones too are the crossovers between the two. But like Going to the Mat was just kind of it's a good wholesome movie, but it's just bland.
All right, my
47.
bottom 4, The Poof Point.
The Poof Point.
Starring the smart guy.
I almost had that in my top 10.
See, I think you just are picking ones that you have memories of.
No, I don't know if I really remember that one that much.
Here, let me give you a memory of that.
That one's funny. It had the ball, it had the poo-poo, it had the parents.
You like the goo-goo gaga,
yes.
Like the weird fucking borderline diaper fetish stuff with the parents.
It's funny. It's a good
it's awful. I hate it.
Almost
like the weird kid
10.
with fucking white cornrows.
Almost
terrible.
in my top 10.
All right, your next one.
You Lucky Dog, like I said, they're not in any order.
Well, You Lucky Dog is my next one, as far as that is in my bottom three.
It doesn't really fit the DCOM mold. I don't feel like it just was like meh movie.
Which is ironic that you like the stupid parents in the Poof Point, but you don't like the stupid adults in You Lucky Dog.
But again, like in the Poof Point, those are all. It's kids, mostly it's kids and parents, but like the kids played, like the major roles, I guess.
See, I fluctuate on You Lucky Dog, where now I'm like, actually, maybe I like it more than the Poof Point.
Might need to go watch that one again.
But, so the Poof Point does have that kind of like fun party scene at the house. Yes. And You Lucky Dog has the crazy ending where there's the courtroom drama, and then the dog maybe gets shot by a gun.
That's
like, that is crazy.
It doesn't feel like a DCOM. Like you said, I think it's a script that just got thrown in there. It doesn't fit the DCOM mold.
Well, it's the second one. It wasn't established what a DCOM was.
Yes,
kids like funny animal stuff.
Looking back, though, now, yeah.
So I burned my next one, so you can go.
So now
again.
I got The Color of Friendship in there.
So Jacob Telejohn confirmed racist.
But like going to the mat, like I almost included the Frankie Muniz one, but I'm like, I can't hate on a crippled, so we'll just hate on a black girl.
I'll be racist.
But no.
Jacob Telejohn, apartheid, A-okay with me.
But again, like going to the mat, like you like this one does fit the DCOM mold, I think.
There's a literal fucking wardrobe trying on montage.
Yes, it fits the DCOM mold, but it's not quote unquote fantastical. It's not a magical movie. Like it's awesome for two races coming together. I'm not bashing that, obviously, but it's
I think Jacob is.
So
I think we maybe just move on to my second.
Would The Color of Friendship be a movie like, hey, Mom, Dad, let's just watch this for fun today?
Yeah, I think
Why?
So. Well, we'll save
it's
that
in your top 10? Oh,
yeah,
no.
We'll save it for later. I had to check, and I'm like, oh, yep, it is. So my second least favorite Disney Channel original movie, and this will probably be my most controversial pick, top 10 or bottom 5, is Johnny Tsunami.
That's not in my top 10.
It was.
I did like that
I did not like it. I did not like it, Sam. I like that movie. I did enjoy the snowboarding aspect. It has the most heightened I hate my dad drama.
So you hate indigenous people of Hawaii?
No, I love Johnny Tsunami, but Johnny Kapahala, who is not Johnny Tsunami.
Have we watched that second one?
No, of course not.
I can't even remember.
One of my least favorite movies, but it's also probably my, in memory, least favorite episode of this podcast, where I just felt we had low energy. We didn't have a lot of funny stuff or observations. I remember really not enjoying.
Hats. I remember the funny hats.
There's some times when I'm editing a podcast and it kind of breezes along because I'm enjoying listening to it.
Were there some other notable casts in that one?
Well, it has
Xenon?
Jet Jackson in it.
Oh, Jet Jackson's
Xenon.
a friend. Yeah, and Xenon. So it has the cast. It just didn't have the bang. It didn't have Protozoa, It didn't have...
So Johnny Tsunami was one of the few DCOMs I knew by name going into making this podcast, but...
It just didn't live up to the hype?
From me.
It's not in my top 10, but it wouldn't be anywhere near my bottom 5.
And then
which leads me to Rip Girls.
Rip Girls is inoffensive to me. It's not good. I remember thinking it had too much jammed into it because it was both her mom died in a surfing accident, which is hilarious.
And none of this, I don't really remember this movie that much. It didn't.
So that's why I'm saying your bottom is I don't remember this movie, and your top is I remember one thing about this movie, and it was a funny monkey.
Yes. Jenny Project is not in my top 10.
That is surprising.
I think it's an okay movie. It just wasn't.
But then they also put in some indigenous rights stuff or preserving the island stuff, and it's this is an 80-minute Disney Channel movie. Those are decent plots, but then it's her learning to surf.
The binoculars, though.
That's probably one of the saving graces. So that's something I take into account.
That's our thumbnail, isn't it?
Yeah, it's where was this a good movie? Not necessarily. Was it also a fun movie? Was it a fun episode for us? And that's sometimes where I can take off one funny thing. So why You Lucky Dog is not my least favorite movie is because of the end in that courtroom. Yeah. That saves it to being a 1-star movie as opposed to a half-star or no-star movie.
I get that.
And my only DCOM on Letterboxd that I've written a half-star, which I kind of give my own.
This is your number one worst?
So my grading scale goes from 5 stars, which I consider a masterpiece, a classic.
Did anybody get a 5?
No. Within my movie range. Yes. 5 stars, masterpiece, all-time classic, defines its genre, if it even has a genre to begin with. half star, terrible and devoid of any artistic merit.
Oh, no.
And that is Ready to Run.
That's
for
mine.
me.
That's mine.
And
That's
I feel
my number
like
one worst.
I've incepted that into your head because I bring up Ready to Run as being such a shitty movie all the time, where I'm like, this isn't a great DCOM, but it's not Ready to Run, so I'm fine with it. But Ready to Run had talking animals, which I'm not a big fan of generally, but it didn't do too much in them. It had Sinbad, who was just fucking watching TV at points.
Yeah.
It just should have been more magical, and it wasn't.
Yes,
and just
they could have used
it
the
annoyed
horse.
me.
And I even forgot
it
the
annoyed
horse
me
talks.
so much.
I even forgot the horse talk. Dead ass. These movies that I just listed, like I said, like they're just,
Ready to Run is so forgettable that people think it's called Horse Sense.
Yeah. To me, these are not memorable movies. Again, like you'll see my top 10s, basically, it might be all magical movies. That's my big thing. I love magical movies.
The Magic Kingdom.
Yes. They're just basic. They're not memorable. But they do, some of them have good, moral values, or they teach good lessons, like The Color of Friendship, the importance of family, friends, regardless of race and stuff like that.
Bottom 5 of 50 movies. I think you really just needed to think about that one a little more.
But they
let me just pull out some ones that are in my mid tier that you were saying is better than The Color of Friendship. The Scream Team.
That's in my top 10.
Get a Clue.
That one I liked. That was Lindsay Lohan.
Full Court Miracle. Judah Maccabee.
That was great.
Better
The Jews. I don't hate the Jews.
A Ring of Endless Light.
Ryan Merriman. 2 of his are in my top 10.
Right on Track.
That one, that's the Frankie Muniz one.
No, that is the Brie
that's
Larson
the girls.
one.
That's with the girls. The girls racing.
The Jenny Project you're saying is better than The Color of Friendship.
Right on Track could have bumped out The Color of Friendship.
The 13th Year. I will say the 13th Year barely doesn't make my bottom 5.
Cody.
13th Year is my number 45.
Cody was a magical movie.
I felt like universally between us, like 13th Year, we hated that movie.
I don't think it's a bottom 5 though.
Because he's a fucking mermaid and there's not racism in it, except there is racism against fucking mermaids.
Yes, it has the nostalgia. See, a big thing for me is the nostalgia factor. And I think that's a big thing against me because I'm very biased on a lot of my movies. Like going into them, just naturally going to be biased. I'm trying to like some of these movies that I'd never seen cracked my top 10. Like there's 2 or 3 that cracked my top 10 that you don't necessarily like, but they still made it in there. So I was still trying to adapt to the new ones, let in some old ones.
All right.
But
so let's move on to the more positive. There'll probably be some contentions between us still.
No.
So
you're gonna hate my number 10.
Our top 10.
You're gonna hate. I bet 5 of my top 10.
These are just our current top 10s. We've watched 50, maybe 51. Who knows? Movies.
How many do you think?
These could change.
How many do you think the top 10 we have together? 4? 5?
Yeah, maybe.
4, maybe.
This could change. We have not watched any of the Zombies franchise, so I have a feeling that those could be locked in for top 10 material right there. Quick rattle off of a few that barely missed my top 10, and maybe depending if I deliberated on them more, could be there. Genius, Chaz Anthony, classic name, classic episode of ours. I think one of my more favorite episodes.
And that's the same way with mine. My 8, 9, and 10 were all very fuzzy. Like Genius, I really like Genius as well. I thought that was a good movie.
True Confessions, I thought was a good, more serious DCOM.
Serious.
And
I didn't want to throw that in my bottom 5.
But you picked the racism
the race one.
And then The Other Me, which is another goofy movie.
I like that one too. That was almost my number 10.
A fun episode. Both Sam was on Genius and The Other Me.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I guess I should have put more of the recording factor in there. We could have got one of the bowling one in there. We could have got the Samwise one.
Actually, Alley Cat Strike, I was like, is it really that bad? Because Alley Cat Strike is, let's see, number 42 on my list.
We had all 4 of us on for one episode, didn't we?
No.
No, never all one?
Our microphones cannot handle that.
I'm trying to remember. How many was Sam on? 2?
No, he's been on 5.
Was it 5?
Genius, Get a Clue, The Other Me, Smart House, Don't Look Under the Bed.
Well, Don't Look Under the Bed, I remembered in Smart House.
Okay. My number 10.
Ugh.
This kind of even surprised me a bit, but it was You Wish. And we don't need to really necessarily go in too hard on some of these ones, maybe more for the top 5.
Ryan
but You
Merriman.
Wish, no.
No.
You Wish, just basic premise, something that's been done a lot, but I think it was also one of the more recent DCOMs where just like the look and feel of it feels more professional, feels more movie-like.
Yeah.
And hey, he doesn't like frozen waffles, and I can get behind that.
A lot of mine are just, they're tarnished by nostalgic factors. And any one of those ones you just listed could have fit in my 10. Just for nostalgic purposes, I threw in the Even Stevens movie. It's not one of my top 10. After I got past 5, it just got really tough. I'm like, Even Stevens movie. I like Beans. I like Christy Carlson Romano.
All right.
I don't really have much to say about that one.
Let's speed this up because already this is not being a small episode at all. 9, Motocrossed.
Oh, wow.
Good love story, good sports movie.
Wow.
Made me feel some weird things at moments.
Oh.
I liked it.
Scream Team. 9. 9.
7, Phantom of the Megaplex. Another episode that
8.
Sam was on. And yeah, far better spooky movie than the Scream Team.
Number 8, Stepsister from Planet Weird.
You are tripping balls.
Number 7, my number 7, Can of Worms.
Okay, I placed that higher. Which is probably one of my.
I like that one.
One of my more controversial things.
I like that one.
My number. Oh no! I'm sorry. I skipped over number 9 for me. We're professionals here. 'Twas the Night.
That's a good one.
I thought was
Brenda
a good.
Song.
Nope, that was the ultimate Christmas present.
Sorry.
Which I also was close to my top 10. I like
Bryan Cranston.
I like Christmas movies. It's got Bryan Cranston.
God,
it has actually good family drama,
that was a good
growth that happens in it.
That was a good one.
We hacked Santa's sleigh or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a fun movie. So you're number 7 or 6?
I did the Even Stevens, Scream Team, Stepsister, Planet Weird, Can of Worms. Now I'm on my 6.
Okay. My next one will be 6.
Go for it.
The Color of Friendship. Okay. I think it's a serious DCOM done well. It feels...
I agree.
A lot of what the movies that I rate higher is... One of the highest praises we can give to a Disney Channel original movie is it feels like a real movie. Okay. And this is one where it's like, this just feels like a kid's movie with a serious subject matter.
And wanted to explain that. I explained that for my bottom 5. For me, my top 10's all just going to be magical, like fun movies that I would watch on any given day kind of thing.
Any given Sunday.
I like The Color of Friendship, but I don't love it.
I don't think you do.
I don't love it.
When you like 45 more movies.
Well, that's what I said. Like my
and
bottom
one of those is
tough.
Hounded or The Poof Point or Jenny Project.
Hounded had the dog attack. It was fun.
All right. So you're number 5.
Number 6.
Oh, sorry, 6.
Phantom of the Megaplex.
Mickey Rooney.
Yeah.
Career-defining performance.
Movie Mason. And I think one of my favorite things, and you'll see it, because I almost included, like a couple of the other ones are Halloween coming up here. But I almost included, like, Mom's Date with a Vampire at number 10.
Oh, God.
I like the Halloween movies.
If we were doing a tier list of worst children in DCOMs, then Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire is number 1.
You're not wrong. But, like, Phantom of the Megaplex, I think that was just, it was a good movie. It was a fun movie.
All right. My number 5, which recently slipped down a little bit further, is Brink. I think Brink is... It's the earliest example, but it's the pinnacle, I think, of the sports DCOM genre.
Yeah.
It did it first. It did it best. It's got believable interpersonal conflicts with the different teams. It's got
non-magical, not in my top.
It's got some climactic race sequences. That one girl in the overalls gets like road rash or stuff.
Yeah, I remember
the X-Blads.
X-Blads.
It's an iconic movie for a reason.
It is. My number 5, Xenon. Girl of the 21st Century.
See, Xenon is one that, like, I've rated. It's like, it's not a good movie, but within my list, I've placed it higher than maybe some movies that I think are better movies just because Xenon exemplifies DCOMs better than other stuff.
Xenon to me is a DCOM. That fits the DCOM mold. You're going to hate my number 4.
All right. Well, my number 4 is Smart House. Another movie I came into knowing about as a Disney Channel original movie. Had parts of like commercials seared into my brain.
Yeah.
Fun movie, ridiculous 90s stuff in it. Some weird takes it goes with like Death of Mom and reinsertion of like Cyber Mom. Sam was on that episode. It was a fun episode.
Yeah.
Good movie.
My number 4, Halloween Town.
No.
I love my Halloween magical movies. Halloween Town I like mostly because of the set designs, like I don't know, just the Halloween Town.
It
itself,
looks like
the
a
actual,
fucking just pumpkin patch on the side of the goddamn road. It is so little set design, such poor makeup and creatures.
The ideas, like getting the fang from the, or like the werewolf hair.
That is the best sequence.
Some of the
in
like
the movie.
The sweat from the ghost, just stuff.
That
like
is a part of the movie that comprises like 2 minutes.
But I like that. That stands out to me.
It's the best part of the movie.
That's a DCOM.
Marnie, number 2, worst child in a DCOM. Number 3, the most recent movie to make this list, Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off.
Oh, number 3.
I think the ones above this fall into more genre type movies, but I think this is like the best pure DCOM we've seen so far. It's got sports in it, but it's not a sports focused movie. It's got bad parents learning lessons, but that are kind of believable, with like the dad being sexist. You got the team calling him out for the sexism. You've got some weird inversion of gender roles with Eddie being a cooker. He's got the goofy cooking scenes. He's twirling around covering his dog in slime. We watched that movie and there was very little of it which I didn't like, and I just had fun the whole way through. And at the end of it, I'm like, I think this is a pretty good fucking movie.
Yeah.
And Dustin's like, thumbs up. Two thumbs up from Dunstan.
So my number 3, and I think we might have 1 and 2 the same.
No, because one of mine you've already burned
later
in your list.
Well, then I'm gonna have to question why you didn't have one of these up there. But my number 3 is Smart House.
Okay, so very close to each other on that.
So we had what do we have? We had Can of Worms.
So Can of Worms is my number 2, which I know is not one that people, I mean, you liked.
Yeah.
I think maybe that is, again, some of my enthusiasm for this movie rubbing off on you, because it's like some of your least favorite ones, like Ready to Run, or some of your favorite ones are like ones I regularly bring up, like Can of Worms, or ones I bring up as hating, like Ready to Run. But Can of Worms, the production design of like those monsters, the monster that eats his burger and shit is gross as hell. Yes. And then you get to Halloween Town, and it's like these creatures are lame as hell for the most part that are wandering around town. That's just a plastic skeleton that they put in the driver's seat of a taxi.
Yeah.
Can of Worms is just a fun, weird sci-fi story. You got the bully from school. They put his face on a pig on the computer. There's the weird implication that Mike Pillsbury is maybe actually an alien.
That was a good movie.
There's just layers to it. And it is one that I could see myself going back to and watching again.
That one could move into my top 5 when I go back and do it again. Like some of these, I'll probably mix and match some of these up again. But my number 2, Luck of the Irish.
See,
I'm hurt that's not in your top 10.
Well, if you remember the episode we had, I felt some like the messaging of it would have been fine if it was just leprechaun kid plays basketball, murders evil leprechaun in Lake Michigan or whatever. Lake Erie. I would have been fine with that. But when it brought in the whole like America is all about becoming American. It doesn't matter where you are, but you have to be Americans. Don't worry about your cultures. We're a culture of multiculturalism, but you have to be American. And it's like, get that out of here. Just make it Teen Wolf, except with fucking leprechauns. Like you already had the script out there for you.
I almost, just for gigs, had Ryan Merriman movies in all my top 10s.
So, for context, then, my Luck of the Irish is number 24 on my list.
Okay.
So, quite a ways off.
So, before we get to 1, what did we have all the same in the top 10? We had Smart House.
Can of Worms. Phantom of the Megaplex.
So, we had 3. So, and our number 1
you didn't pick Brink. You didn't pick Brink? I thought that'd be a heavy nostalgia. And yes, of course, the number 1... it's got to be Don't Look Under the Bed. It is iconic. It is genuinely, as a kid's movie.
Set design.
From an adult's perspective, seems pretty scary. It probably would have scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Oh, yeah. The boogeyman or the boogie
world.
Person. But just the set, just everything. Like, it was...
creative premise, creative scenes, some actual, like, decent...
effects, just everything. About
cinematography as far as... like the creepy Dutch angles while the boogie person's fucking throwing eggs on the roof or whatever. Yeah. Definitely a movie I'd watch again, and definitely the DCOM I look at the most is like, this is just a good movie.
It really is.
With the added addition of the ending where she kisses her boogie friend.
Oh, and it's a girl.
Well, she kisses the guy, her brother's boogie person or whatever. And it's like, you just didn't have that. Yeah, I feel like it's been unchallenged for us since we watched it. I don't think anything's really come close.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that.
So maybe not the biggest surprise for what came out as number 1, since I've brought it up as my favorite in the past,
Yeah.
and I think we spoke effusively about it.
That was one
when we
I
did
liked
the
as a kid,
episode.
too. 4 of the same top 10. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's almost like we do a podcast together.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'm looking. We're close to just this being a normal episode.
Wow.
But you know what? You're getting it as a little bit of a bonus, little spoiler.
That was fun.
What? Yeah, a little bonus fun thing. Lists are fun.
Yeah, lists are fun.
The next time we do one of these, we don't need to be like, I've learned how to use Audacity for audio editing, and then we can just be like, Johnny Tsunami is still the worst movie.
Oh, but we'll give you an updated top 10 in 50 more episodes. Maybe we'll do something in between again.
Who knows?
Who knows?
But something you can let us know about is whatever you want to let us know about by writing us at a whole new pod.
What are your top 10? What are your bottom 5? Does The Color of Friendship fit there?
Yeah, I think you're way off base. You can write us about how potentially closet racist Jacob is at a whole new pod at gmail.com. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, your mom.
Your mama's house.
Your mom's YouTube channel and
Yes.
our channel as well. Review us, not a thing you do on YouTube. Subscribe to us, comment, like,
Bell
share
notifications
the
on.
stuff around.
Hit the like on every button, or the
Yeah,
like on
if
every
you hit
video.
that, if you had hit that bell, you'd see this
You just
uploaded on
know.
YouTube, and you'd be like, "Oh, bonus episode!
Bonus episode.
I'm intrigued."
Wow.
And then you basically just got another full episode.
Yeah.
And
You love to see it.
we're professionals. We're planning this schedule out, so we have no downtime.
No downtime.
But I get a little bit more of a break, or at least more spread out of when I
Ours-
edit the next episode,
Yeah, in 4
Which is-
weeks. Oh,
Stuck in the Suburbs.
fucking the suburbs.
We know what the next episode
Yeah.
is. How do we know?
We've done it.
Listen, and you'll find out.
You'll find out.
So Jacob, 50 episodes down.
You think we can make another 50 more?
Well, I think we got to at least do more than 50.
Wow.
However many there are.
To infinity. and
Until we
beyond.
become the All Good Burger podcast. So
Oh, good burger. May I take your order?
welcome to a whole new pod, home of
The podcasts.
She Comes.
She comes, she comes, she comes, she comes.
Can I take your
Come.
RSS feed?
Wow.
Samasa!